Hello, everybody. Usually, I do not make special programs like this, but I have decided to do so. I wanted to touch on the subject of VOA, Voice of America, and also wanted to touch on the subject of Radio Marti, the death knell of two stations by the Trump administration. This is not a political one. I don't intend to make this into a political statement because I'm not supporting anybody. I'm just simply saying why VOA and Radio Marti were destined to go to the graveyard of many radio stations that have already preceded them towards the graveyard. First, let us start with VOA, Voice of America. Voice of America, VOA, was founded after World War II as a vehicle to transmit the American way of life to the Soviet Empire and other countries that have dictatorships. Yet, on the other hand, many of the programs that were on VOA were not, let's just say that the program, while I did hear it, was not much of a superior quality when it came to interests of the United States. At the same time, you had many stations, private stations inside the United States that weren't even doing shortwave broadcasting, but were transmitting outside the world to the world without even knowing it. And eventually you had EWTN and the Adventists and others transmitting their truth to the world. I could still remember a time in the Dominican Republic that I had the shortwave radio on. Many people had the shortwave radio on for VOA. And unfortunately, VOA was a very boring had very boring programs. In fact, public television was even better, and public television arrived via shortwave radio, via some accidents of the sun or whatever, but it arrived. On top of that, VOA was superseded by many commercial radio stations that didn't transmit by shortwave and were on AM but on FM, but somehow, because of something that happened in the sun, one could hear Tampa, Miami, Orlando in Florida, even Jacksonville in Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, New Orleans, Louisiana, and hear commercials of Wendy's, Pizza Hut, Holiday Inn, Howard Johnson, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Oldsmobile, the local dealerships for Pontiac, Buick, and even commercials for gasoline stations like Exxon, Sunoco, or even BP. Something that you did not hear in the VOA. And many people went and heard these stations. And they found that represented the United States compared to VOA. Even though URNO, in its heyday, recognized that that directly or indirectly, they were transmitting what was America, and they did a shortwave service 24 hours showing the best rock commercials, movies, the whole bit. You had the 1980s hits with WRNO. Even WRNO was heard in Europe. I could also remember Bilbao, Spain. Bilbao, Euskadi, Spain. Many people risked their lives to buy parabolic antennas, which were very heavy and weighed a lot, but they took the parabolic antennas, they risked their lives and put it on the roof because they wanted to hear Florida, Georgia, or even North Carolina, South Carolina, or even Louisiana, the true America of Eastern Airlines, Continental Airlines, Radio Shack. Yes, Radio Shack. They also wanted to hear some of the greatest hits of the 80s, and also some of the greatest commercials as well. And they wanted to feel America. You could not feel America with the VOA. You can't. But you could feel it with the commercial stations, and you could also feel it with EWTN or even the Adventist stations. Regardless of the fact that VOA might have steered towards totalitarianism, it was already inevitable with the demise of shortwave radio that this was going to happen. And while it is lamentable that people will be losing their jobs, it is also inevitable that shortwave radio and stations like VOA have to give way to newer realities in which anyone could do their own station. Anyone can do their own programs. Right now, you have YouTube, you have Rumble, Brighteon, BitChute, Gab. You even have other stations in the internet. The same goes with Radio Marti. Radio Marti was good for Cuba. It had at times transmitted the reality. They transmitted about the alternative to what was doing with Castro. They were also transmitting rescue and helping other people go abroad and everything. But the same thing happened with the commercial stations. Cuba, somehow some of the people in Cuba were able to get little chips and hear alternative radio stations that were not Radio Marti, and were able to visit many stations like Vox Media and others without interference. Yeah, many people think the Cubans are not intelligent, but many of them are much more intelligent, and they know where to get the free stations and everything. Even I was heard in Cuba. Even I was heard in Cuba with my YouTube channel. So are many others. And again, lamenting the loss of jobs and the closure of the stations, we have to recognize the inevitability of progress and the inevitability of alternative radio stations. This is all that I could say about VOA and Radio Marti. This is Roberto Alvarez-Galloso. Peace in, peace out, and peace everywhere, and may God bless you, now and always.